Well, greetings, everybody. Welcome back to part two of my Apple collection. And and in this is part two, I'll be doing my iPod and iPod Touch um, collection. So, as you can see, I'm here all my iPods. And so, let's start off. So, obviously, most of them are iPod Touches, but I do have some iPods that were non-iPod Touches, like the Classic Nano, Shuffle, and I believe Classic. Um, so to get started, so major disclaimer is I won't be powering any of these up because there are so many of them, and some obviously could take forever to boot because of the old bad batteries. Since most of these are 2007, 2008, 2009 hardware, 2010 hardware. Um, but I arranged them from a generation. So first gen, second gen, third gen, fourth gen, fifth gen right here, sixth gen, seventh gen, and then the non-touch models. So kind of up there. So, and I have two cases. So to start off, but I am being truthful about what version they are running and what capacity they are because they all have labels. So here's an iPod Touch first generation, 8 gig running iOS 1.1. There's another iPod Touch first gen 16 gig though running 1.1, which was the first version that the iPod Touch got. So in fall of 2007, when I was a 5-year-old retard. And then an iPod Touch first gen 8 gig 1.1.5, and then a 16 gig on 1.1.5, and then an 8 gig on iOS 2.2.1. I believe it has a lot of apps and games on there. I can't remember. And then 3.1.3. So nothing special. Well, this one is kind of special, not the iOS, but this is one of the first ever iPods that I've bought for my collection almost 9 years ago, which is crazy. Which is crazy. And there's a lot of music on here, so pretty cool. So that is one of my oldest tenured, devices in my collection. And then the second gen iPod Touches. So I have a second gen on 2.2.1 16 gig. I have on 2.1.1, I mean, actually, which is kind of rare because I was browsing eBay not that long ago and I found one on a 2.1.1, which I thought, oh, I've never seen one on 2.1.1. That's pretty rare. I've only seen them on 2.1. So it's like, all right. So I claim now, and I actually bought two. I actually have one for sale on eBay right now. And then I have another 2.2.11. Although this one does have a bad battery, I think I made a video about that one back in the winter about the battery being bad and having to get another one. So that's why I got that one, but I want to keep this one just because it's got a lot of apps and music on it. And even though it might not be functional anymore, but we'll see. And then I get 3.1.3 with a lot of apps, and then 4.2.1, nothing special. And then I got third gens. I only have 3 third gens. I haven't really struggled to find them. I just haven't really. There's been no reason to get any more than one of each third gen on all 3 versions of iOS that the third gen iPod Touch got, because I don't know, there are only 2 storage capacity these that I got, and I don't know. They're quite expensive and kind of rare, surprisingly. I'm not sure why third gens are that rare and that expensive. Probably because not many people bought them, and probably because they started at 32 gigabytes. So that's why they're probably more expensive. So because you can still to this day sync an iPod Touch with iTunes and sync all your music on it. Although I would recommend um, at least an iPod Touch 2 or later to do it on, because the first gens don't have built-in speakers. So I mean, you have to have headphones to change the volume. So I would recommend an iPod Touch second gen for that. 16 gig or later, of course. 8 gigs are robbery. So, unless you're trying to find one on iOS 2, then it's like, all right. But if you want an iPod Touch, I would go with a second gen on iOS 4.2.1. So, 16 gigabyte. And then sync all your music. That would be legit. And then take it to the gym. And then people will want to notice. It's like, bro, here's an old Apple guy. So, there we go. But anyway, so I do have an iPod Touch 3rd gen, 32 gig, 3.1.2. I don't think there's anything on here, which is alright. I have 4.3.5, really good condition, 32 gig, and then also 32 gig, 5.1.1, nothing special. And then 4th gen's the most I have, probably the best iPod Touch ever, probably. Since it was reminiscent of the iPhone 4, and also adopted the A4 chipset, just like the iPhone 4, and launched a few months after the iPhone 4 with iOS 4. So, I do have a bad battery one, 64 gig iOS 4.1. It's got a company name on it, which is kind of weird. I think actually one of the first gens has a company on it too. So, those I got both from the same seller on Macari. So, and then I have another a 64 gig 4.2.1, which is really cool. This one I got recently. It's got some content on there. I got 4.3.2. This one I've had forever. 4.3.2, lots of my own apps and music on it that I downloaded back in 2018. I think the second semester of my freshman year of high school. I remember buying this. I would take it to lunch. I would take this iPod, and like people would make fun of me for using old iPods. They're like, bro, what are you doing with an iPod, buddy? I know, right? And I'd say, hey, I mean, gotta pull out the old there, right? So, yeah, so I would take on this one to school sometimes and listen to music and during lunch and stuff like that. It was really cool. And in the football locker room and yeah, so there were fun memories. My freshman year of high school, there were a lot of crazy memories. So, with some of these devices. Almost 7 years ago now. Yeah, 6-7 years ago. It's crazy. But yeah, because after that, high school just went right down the tube. Like, yeah, high school was terrible after freshman year. It was crazy. And then I just have a stock 8 gig on 4.3.5. Nothing too special besides the older iOS version. Just wanted a 4.3.5 one for my collection. I just don't know why. And then we got a 5.1.1 iPod Touch 4th gen, 8 gig. This one does have some apps on it. This one I got recently. And then I have a white iPod Touch 4th gen, also 5.1.1, 8 gig. Really cool. It's the only white 4th gen I have. And then 6.1.6, that one I got for free from my uncle, because I believe in 2021, because he, I mean, those that I am collecting old electronics retail, and he used to use this for music at his gym and stuff like that, and he did update it. I believe he got it when iOS 5 was the latest, and then updated it all the way through iOS 6. So, nothing special there, but pretty cool. Now for the newer ones. So obviously, here is the iPod Touch 5th gen. This is when Apple started to get lazy with the iPod Touch, only giving it the A5 chip instead of the A6 chip. So it got on the same chip as the iPad Mini 1 in 2012, and not on the same A6 or A6 dual-core chip with the iPad 4th gen and of course the iPhone 5. When I was in the 4th grade, when really technology started to change, when I was 10 years old. But anyway, we got a nice hot pink iPod Touch 5th gen on 6.0.1. This iPod Touch was never used. I got it. It still had the plastic wrap on it. It was crazy. 6.0.1, 64 gig max storage, beautiful condition. Like, I need a screen protector for this. I'm gonna buy a bunch of screen protectors and cases very soon. For some of these very rare devices. And then I got a no camera model. This was weird. I believe May of 2013 they came out with a no camera or no rare camera. And I'm gonna do something to price and offer a 16 gig model. So black 16 gig iOS 7.1. So and I'm addressing iPod. Definitely a questionable decision on Apple's part. It sold pretty well though because it was cheaper than the 32 gig iPod Touch 5th gen with the iSight camera. So I think it started at $199 for that one, and then $299 it started with this one. So the 32 gig with all the camera features, and then the nice charcoal. A nice slate black color, 8.4.1, 32 gig. Rare, but not super rare because I think these are downgradable too. I could be wrong though. And then the nice blue iOS 9.3.5. So, pretty cool. So, and now for the 6th gen. So I have a blue 6th gen, 16 gig, iOS 8.4.1. Which is really cool. This one I also used to use for music. I used to take it outside all the time in 2019. So, which was pretty crazy. I would take it to my local Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. I'd use it for like games and stuff. I was using iOS 8 when iOS 13 was almost the latest operating system. It was pretty crazy. Instead of my old beat up iPhone 7 that was running slow on... It wasn't really slow, it was just badly beat up and stuff. And I was like only 16, 17 years old, so I obviously couldn't afford to do stuff at the time. So it was just beat up. I'd use it with no case, anything. And then a lot of people had like the 10R and stuff then. So it was crazy. And then I got a gold one with a dent. 12.5.7, 16 gig, nothing special. And I do have a 7th gen on iOS 14.4, 32 gig. This I got for a pretty good deal. I bought it, I forget, but I didn't buy it online. I think I bought it, no, I think I found it in the Target bin. That's right. Yeah, I found this one in my local Target bin, so I got it for free. Because I bought their 7th gen right around the time when I was looking for one. They were not cheap. They were around like 200 starting. I think Apple was still selling them. Because I found this one in 2021 in the Target bin. I remember I was 19, so. And I almost got caught too. Like, I just had to run since security was on my nerves. I remember that. But I got it and I just ran. I started up the car as quick as I could and just ran. Yeah, right. I think it was November 2021. But yeah, that was crazy. And now the iPod non-touches. So, you got an iPod Nano, 1st generation, black. I don't think there's any songs on here. 1 gig. Only 1 gigabyte, which is crazy. 1 gigabyte, just imagine that. And then I have a 4th, I think this is the 4th gen. It does have a couple of screen issues. This one I found in my local Target bin as well. Not on the same day as this one, but... and it's a 4 gig product red edition, which is really cool. I believe these were only available in the UK as well, originally, and then they made their way over to the US. So, and then we got a 5th generation. This is really nice. These are really expensive nowadays because this was the only iPod Nano, except for the 7th gen. I've never had a 7th or 8th gen Nano, but it did indeed have a camera, so you could record video with this, which was amazing for the time. So, it had a bigger screen, it had everything. Like, a lot of people, like my dad said, a lot of people at his gym at the time had these, and he had one of these too until he was using it on the treadmill, and then it just zinged right across the end of his workout, and it never worked again. It just had a sad iPod face on it. And then he bought, I believe, a 6th gen, which is down right there, which we'll get to, for his workout iPod. But damn, but this one is really cool. I haven't played around with this one in a couple of years, but I think I've also had this one since 2021. I did buy it for like $50 or $60. It was not cheap, but I wanted a 5th gen Nano so bad, so I got one. I do have a 6th gen orange. This is not the same one I had, but this is my first ever Apple product ever. I got for Christmas of 2010. I was in 2nd grade. And I got a lot of Wii stuff. I got a lot of Wii games and stuff like that because that was the thing back in the day, right? But I also got an iPod Nano 6th gen. So with my name on it, it was customized from the Apple Store and was engraved, which was really cool. It said Eric on it, which is amazing. And then I believe it cracked. Somehow I was riding my bike. I was listening to Mother Nature, son, boy. Mother Nature, son. And I was listening to that, and then there was a car coming, and then it's like, oh shit, I screeched over, and then the iPod just came out of my pocket and went face down. And then my neighbor's like, where's your helmet, young man? Where's your helmet? Oh my god. And then I just ran because I never liked wearing a helmet, and yeah, right. It was crazy. I was like in 2nd, 3rd grade, and yeah, right. So yeah, that was a rough story. And then my dad came, got me, and took on the iPod, and yeah, right. And said maybe you'll get an iPod Touch one day or something like that if you be good. So it's like, all right. And yeah, so crazy story surrounding this one. It got me by for a year. I could listen on to music, and then a year later for Christmas in 3rd grade, I got indeed an iPod Touch 4th generation with iOS 5.0.1. So a year later, and that was indeed my first iOS device. So there you go. But I do have an iPod Nano 1st generation here. I actually have the original box somewhere up there. I didn't buy it brand new, but I got this 2 years ago off eBay. Just a really cool device. I don't plan on never using it. It's just a collectible. But really cool. And then an iPod Classic 4th generation. I believe this is 20 gig hard drive, which is really cool. And really cool. It does work. It does have a scratch, but it could be worse. Really cool. I would like an iPod Classic 1st generation at some point, though. Those are just really expensive, but I think I'm watching one on eBay right now. It's $300, but I know someone that sells them too on the website that's selling them for like $350. So we'll see. And then an iPod Mini. I believe this is the 2nd gen, mint condition, 4 gigabyte, nice blue color. So this is amazing. So yeah, so I think that's my whole entire iPod collection. Well, I do have one other, but that will be in another video. Since it technically is a special iPod, so that will be in a separate video. But I think that is it. I'm certainly in good shape with iPod Touch 1st gens. Unless obviously any of these have problems with the battery or just right. And I shouldn't need any more iPod Touch 1st gens. 2nd gens should also be good. 3rd gens, I guess if another 3rd gen on iOS 3 pops up for cheap, maybe I'll get it. 4th gens should be in good shape. I have 4 on iOS 4 here in good shape, so I think I should be good. I have 2 on iOS 5 and 1 on iOS 6. It's just the 5th gens and above, so that, right. I actually do have one on each iOS version for the 5th gen. I would like another one. I would like a slate one on iOS 6 would be cool. Maybe silver, but probably slate. Um, I actually don't need another one on 7 or 8 or 9, but maybe another one on 6. Um, Now, 6 gens, obviously. I would like either a hot pink or a gold one on iOS 8.4. That would be cool in 64 gigs. I think that would be really cool. Um, and then, yeah, I don't think I need iOS 9, 10, or 11. I think, yeah. I don't need every single version for those. Although it would be cool, but and then 7 Gen, I still need one on iOS 12. I do have one on iOS 14.4 though, which is really cool. I might update this one to iOS 15 once I get an iOS 12 one. So we'll see. But pretty much, yeah. And then I would like obviously a original iPod from technically before I was born. I was born in April of 02. The iPod debuted, I believe, November of 2001. So I would like one of those. They range in the $300 to $400. Yeah, at the moment. So they are really expensive, but I have spent that much money on some other crazy rare stuff. So I think I am can do it for that. I just haven't been high on the list yet. And I also would like another Nano that's sealed for whatever reason. I don't know why. That would be really cool. But anyway, peace out, everybody. iPhones will be next week. And I also have two cool iPhones coming soon. So that will be a challenge video to make because I obviously had the most iPhones out of everything. So, but peace out, everybody.